Sure.
How far would this, should it transpire, be a warning shot to Hanoi to perhaps pick sides in what is becoming increasingly a bipolar world? And how much is it a message to other ASEAN countries likewise?
Well, I'm not quite sure about it being a message. Quite frankly, I think that it's just a part of the administration's concern over countries having large deficits with the United States. Vietnam has got like the fourth largest deficit with the U.S. And actually, I believe in January of this year, they were put on the watch list, the Treasury Department watch list, as a currency manipulator. Since then, I know that having been to Vietnam a couple of times just before the COVID lockdowns took place, that the government was indeed concerned and was working at that point. They were working with the Treasury and other American government authorities to try and get to the bottom of this. I mean, if it is, this is the first time I believe that the Commerce Department has used currency devaluation or currency undervaluation as a part of evidence in a subsidy case in anti-dumping countervailing duty proceedings. So it certainly could be a warning shot in that if it comes through, and if a mechanism or a set of procedures is agreed upon, and it turns out to be true, then then it could lead to punitive tariffs.
Ambassador, also just, past administrations have cut small and poorer countries, because Vietnam does remain a relatively poor country. They've cut them some slack and not really come down on them. Do you think it'll be different this time?
That's an interesting question. I mean, this year, after all, is the 25th anniversary of reestablishment of relations with Vietnam, and it would certainly be bad form to sort of destroy the great relationship, or to put a cloud over the great relationship that we've developed over those 25 years by doing this. And I think that, quite frankly, this is going to be a process. And you've got to get started. And undervaluation is quite a bit different from currency manipulation. And so this is new territory for the United States. So I'm not sure that it's going to be, I'm not sure it's going to be hard and fast. And yes, we usually do try to work with countries on questions like this. Vietnam has certainly had a great relationship with the United States. The United States is the largest destination for their exports, and their exports have been growing quite a bit. When I was ambassador there, I think we had a $6 to $8 billion deficit, and now the first 7 months of this year, it's up to 30. So they've been growing very fast, and it shows that their goods are certainly in demand and are competitive. So we'll just have to wait and see just how much the currency figures into those calculations.
Michael, how do you see U.S. companies responding? We've heard from the likes of Nike, Lululemon, saying that perhaps they may move their business and operations out of Vietnam to elsewhere.
Well, it's a lot of companies have talked about supply chains shifting as a result of the U.S.-China trade war, and most of that shift has actually benefited Vietnam. But it may be that Nike, some companies may actually find that the conditions for doing business in Vietnam are changing, in that wages may be going up. And in that case, they may be looking to some place like Cambodia, where the wage rates are a little bit lower. For many of the other companies, though, particularly the high-tech companies, Vietnam is an increasingly positive destination. Over the past several years, they have been the winners in terms of FDI. Just as recently as 2019, I mean, they had $16 billion coming in. The previous year, $15 billion. So they're still a destination for FDI. Some of the specific industries, though, may in fact find that conditions may be better elsewhere within ASEAN. But that's the other point, is that it's still within ASEAN. So ASEAN as a whole, I think, is benefiting much from these shifts in supply chains.
Vietnam is not the only country that's being targeted by the U.S. I mean, elsewhere in the palm oil space, we have the U.S. taking issues with the likes of FGV as well as Sime Darby to do with forced labor issues. I mean, is there a risk that the rift between the U.S. and ASEAN countries will get even bigger?
Well, I don't know. I don't believe that that would be the case. Certainly, we have seen that a rift between the EU and ASEAN was somewhat exacerbated by palm oil related to both Malaysia and Indonesia. But that was more over environmental concerns than labor concerns. There have not, I mean, there are always, within U.S. trade law, there is always a prohibition against importing or importing tariff-free goods that are the product of prison labor or forced labor. The best example of that is Xinjiang, where we've now put tariffs on China because of that. But the case against, if there is a case against some of these other companies, then that would have to be proven. The burden of proof for saying that a product is prison labor free is actually on the company. So the company has to be quite vigilant in terms of what their labor practices are and being able to support their self-certification as being forced labor free. So I think that'll be the first thing that we look at. Go ahead.
Many people saw Donald Trump's decision not to join the TPP as almost withdrawing or disengaging with this part of the world from Asia. Do you see that as being something that has occurred? Has it been detrimental? And in some ways, has China filled that void in your view and, of course, then allowed that country to have a freer hand in, let's say, these disagreements in the South China Sea, for instance?
Well, personally, I certainly do believe that leaving the TPP was a mistake, and I think that it has hurt American industry. I believe that even the new Phase 1 agreement with Japan has not restored the balance yet. So I do think that it was a mistake. Now, has it meant that China fills in the gap? I'm not sure that that's true. China is a rising power. China is a big economic power. So their share of the economic pie, particularly within Asia, is bound to go up. And we've seen that. I mean, China is the #1 trading partner for a majority of ASEAN nations. And I'm not sure that TPP would actually reverse that. The very fact, the geopolitical part of the TPP, I think, is another thing that you have to look at. The fact that the U.S. is a strong partner with ASEAN and has been for the past 70 years, and that's an important fact to remember. But the TPP was yet one more pillar in that structure of support for ASEAN, and not being there, I think it's not a good thing. We should be there. But having said that, we are in other trade agreements with ASEAN, and we are looking even more now in COVID time of ways to help